All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look here at the game scene.swift, and let's go and let's spawn our two items here, that being the goal as well as the player. So let's go to spawn goal and spawn player. All right, let's go ahead and let's run it, and you'll see that we'll now have, well, we have our goal here and our player. So what we need to do is we need to set up the goal position here. So goal position 0, the X can be, you can see here the X is a little bit too far. So let's go ahead and let's change that to 600 here. And let's run it again. And sometimes the iPhone simulator crashes, so you just have to quit and run it again. It's very common, so just keep that in mind when you're making your app here. And you can see that, we now have our goal here, and that looks, kind of pretty good. Okay, so we have our Y is 600. We could probably make that 650, and actually we could probably make it 650 by 650. Okay. So let's just take a quick look at that here. And you always want to make sure that you run here. And yeah, that actually does look pretty good. I think that that's probably a good location there. If you really wanted to, you can maybe make it 680 X. And remember, X is across and Y is up and down. Now, if we go and spawn the player to goal position 0, and we spawn the goal to goal position 0, we can go and we can check it out there. Now we're going to be adding in some logic to make sure that this actually works here, but you can see that it's a little bit too far down. I do like where it is because it gives that bottom area to use kind of your finger as well as your as well as it adds in the score here. So we can go ahead and just maybe make it 350. It was a little bit too far over, and there we go. That's looking pretty good. Now, obviously, what we're going to do is we're going to set the player to the opposite position. Okay, so the opposite position of this, and we're going to, you're going to have to drag it and move it along and select that there. Okay, and just one last little tweak. Let's make goal position 1. Let's make the Y 635. So we can put it down a bit, and there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's make it move. So how do we do that? Well, what we need to do is we need to go to our touches began, and below that we're going to add in a function called touches moved. Okay, and in touches moved we're going to add a for touch in touches, and in that for touch and touches we're going to also add in the touch location is equal to touch dot location in node, and we're going to make it equal to self. Okay, so we now have both of those two items there. And next thing we need to do is we need to add in a function that says move player here. Okay, and as you can see, there's a bit of an issue here. It says override function. Override function is a function that is set up for you, and you can't add in another function called touches moved by yourself, even if you wanted to. So let's add in a function called move player, and this will indeed move the player. So in this for touches and touches, we will call move player. And this is so that you can drag it around. So let's go ahead and let's add that in here. So um, we're going to say touched node is equal to node at point. And what point is that going to be? Touch location. And that's going to make sure, so you're only going to be able to move the node if you touch the node here. So we're going to go to player dot position dot x is equal to touch location dot x exclamation point. Now, one thing I like to do is we're going to say player dot position dot y is equal to touch location dot y here, and we'll say this is touch location dot y. Now, what it does is this is not correct, but you can see that there's a fix-it here, and I think I just like doing that here. In Swift 1 that was allowed, but not in Swift 2. So that's essentially what happens there. Let's make the player a bit bigger. So player size, or the goal size is actually 40. Let's make the goal size the exact same size of the player. All right, so let's go and let's add that in here. And you can see that, we can move it over here, and then we can kind of move that over. But what we're going to be doing here is that if you do indeed hit one of these mines, the game's over. But if you do hit this, it will add in the goal logic here. Okay, so now that's pretty much what our controls are set up. We need to go and add in the logic, and we're going to do that in the next tutorial.